headlight, my left turn signal, my right turn signal, my four-way flashers, my high beam, my low beam. The lenses are clear, the bulbs are present, my crack roof are down. Same thing on the right side. Look on my passenger side first. I'm going to inspect my belt-driven alternator. Make sure the belt has no more than 3/4 of an inch deflection. All the bolts are properly mounted and secured. They're tight. None are missing, not damaged. The wires not cut, frayed, or charred. They're all tight, secured to the alternator. Looking down on my water pump. It is a belt-driven water pump. There's no leaks. All the bolts are tight. The hoses, clamps are tight. No signs of any leaks on the hoses or clamps. Going to my exhaust. Looking as far back as I can see, there's no signs of black soot. Clamps are tight, nuts and bolts are there, present, none are missing. Going to the back. Looking at my exhaust as far as I can see forward. All the clamps are tight, nuts and bolts are tight, none are missing. No signs of black soot, be an indication of a leak. Looking as far forward as I can see. All the mounting hardware, nuts and bolts are present, none of it's bent, damaged, or broken. Check my fluids, looking at my coolant.
Excuse me.
All my caps are tight. My nuts and bolts are secured. There's no indication of any leaks. My hoses and clamps are in place. No leaks on my hoses and clamps. Going down to my oil level. I would pull it out here, make sure it's between the it's above the minimum line. If it needed oil, I would fill it here. Make sure my cap is tight. Looking at my power steering reservoir. My nuts and bolts are tight. It's got adequate fluid. There's no leaks. Mounted to the frame. Now I'm going to go to my gear-driven air compressor. It is mounted to the engine. Nuts and bolts are tight. No signs of any oil or air leaks. Air lines are connected, tight, secure. My gear-driven power steering pump. Nuts and bolts are tight. All my hoses and clamps are secure in place, no leaks. All right. Going to take that out. Going to go to my steering system. My steering shaft. There's no excessive play. U-joints on either end are secured with C clamps or C, what do they call them? C pins or with pins. My nuts and bolts are tight. It's not bent, damaged, or broken. Going to my gear-driven or my steering gearbox. Nuts and bolts are tight, secured to the frame. There's no cracks or breaks or damage. All my hoses and clamps are in place. None of it's leaking. Going to my pitman arm. Nuts and bolts are tight. It's connected to my drag link by Castle Nut Carter key. It's not bent, damaged, or broken. Drag link's not bent, damaged, or broken. And it's connected to my upper steering arm by Castle Nut Carter key. Going to my lower steering arm. It's not bent, damaged, or broken. Castle Nut Carter keys present, connecting it to the tie rod. Tie rod's not bent, damaged, twisted. And moving on to my suspension components. I have spring hanger connected to my frame. Nuts and bolts are tight. It's not bent, damaged, or broken. One of my leaf springs. My leaf springs aren't scissored. They're not cracked. They're not broken. None are missing. Going to my U-bolts. They're present. Nuts and bolts are tight on the bottom. There's no signs of shiny metal at the top showing any indication of looseness. Going to my shock absorber. Making sure that there's no leaks. That the nuts and bolts are tight on top and bottom. And it's not bent, damaged, or missing. Okay, now I'm going to go to my braking system. I'm going to go my air line. There's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. It's properly secured to the brake chamber. No audible leaks. My brake chamber is secured to my axle. Nuts and bolts are tight. There's no bends. There's no breaks. No damage. Looking at my clamp. The nut and bolt present and it's tight. Going to my push rod. I don't want no more than 1 inch of travel on my push rod. And it's not bent, damaged, or broken. And it's connected to my slack adjuster by pins and Carter keys. My slack adjuster is not bent, damaged, or broken. Going out to my brake shoe linings, there's no less than 1/4 inch brake shoe lining. There's no excessive grease. There's no grease or oil on my brake shoe lining or my brake drum. My brake drum's not cracked, damaged, or broken. Looking at my inner rim. My inner rim doesn't have any bends, breaks, aftermarket welds. Looking at the sidewalls of my tire, making sure there's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. Looking at my tread, making sure that's evenly worn. I have more than 430 seconds of tread in any major groove. Going to my outer rim. There's not bent, damaged, or broken. The valve stem's in place with metal cap. I would check my air pressure here. I have between 100 and 110 psi. Looking at my lug nuts, make sure they're all tight, make sure there's no cracks or breaks or new rust, which could be an indication they're loose. Going to my hub seal, make sure all the nuts and bolts are present, there's no signs of any leaks. Check my fluid level in the sight glass. I have a turn signal, it's amber in color, nuts or screws are in place, it's not damaged or broken. Coming to my door, look at my door mirror, it's not cracked, broken, damaged, it's clean. Probably secured to the door, all the screws and nuts and bolts are in place. Going to my door, looking at my weather stripping around my outer door, make sure it's not cracked, broken, or missing. Looking at my hinges, make sure the nuts and bolts are tight, it's not broken or missing. Look at my inner door seal, making sure it's all present, it's not cut, frayed, or missing. Also going to look at my seatbelt while I'm here, make sure there's no cuts, no frays, no damage to it. Looking at my steps, they're probably secured to the battery box or to the frame. All my nuts and bolts are tight, accounted for. Supports my weight and it's free of debris. Now I'm going to look in my dog box here, storage compartment. Look at my hinges. My nuts and bolts are tight. It's not cracked, broken, or damaged. My weather seal is in place, not cut or missing. Looking at my 3 reflective triangles. Make sure I have 3 reflective triangles in there. Make sure I have a rated 10 BC fire extinguisher, fully charged, pins in place to prevent accidental discharge. If I was supposed to have spare fuses in here, but this is a circuit breaker truck, so I don't need spare fuses. Close it properly. Sorry. Now I'm going to look at my fuel tank. I'm going to look at the mounting straps, make sure the nuts and bolts are present, mounted to the frame, they're tight. I'm going to look at the rubber underneath the straps, make sure that it's present. I have no metal or metal contact, and there's no leaks. I'm going to look at my fuel cap, make sure the rubber gasset's in place, it's clean, it's not cut, broken, or damaged, or missing. I'm going to come back here, I'm going to talk about my steps and my catwalk. They're probably secured to the frame, nuts and bolts are tight, present, none are missing. And then we'll hold my weight. Looking at my drive shaft. My drive shaft isn't twisted, bent, damaged, or broken. All the U-joints U-joints are in place. They have the nuts and bolts are tight. None of it's missing or damaged. Going to my frame. My frame isn't bent, twisted, or damaged. There's no aftermarket holes or welds. Now I'm going to go to my front axle here. I'm going to look at my suspension components. I'm going to start with my torsion bar. Goes across the top. All my nuts and bolts are present. It's not bent, damaged, or twisted, or missing. Going to my spring hanger. My spring hanger is properly secured to my frame. All the bolts and nuts are secure. It's not damaged, broken, bent, broke, or cracked. Looking at my leaf spring. It's not bent, broke, or cracked. There's no scissoring. And it's secured to the axle with my U-bolts. My U-bolts are tight. The nuts and bolts are tight on the bottom. There's no shiny metal to be an indication of looseness. Looking at my shock. My shock isn't leaking. It's secured at the top and bottom with nuts and bolts. It isn't bent, damaged, or broken. Looking at my airbag. My airbag and the mounts are secure. There's no leaks, abrasions, bulges, and cuts on the airbag. All the nuts and bolts are tight on the mount. Okay. Now I'm going to go to my braking system. I'm going to look at my brake hoses. There's no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks on my air hoses. They're secured to my brake chamber. Looking at my brake chamber, this is a Type 30 brake chamber. All the clamps are present. Nuts and bolts are tight on the clamps. It's not bent, it's not damaged. It's secured to the axle. Nuts and bolts are tight. It has a push rod coming out of the brake chamber. With the brakes released, it should not move more than 1 inch. Being ideal. All the pins and keys are in place. The slack adjuster itself isn't bent, damaged, or broken. Going out to the brake shoe linings, no less than 1/4 of an inch. No grease or oil on the brake shoe linings or the drum. The drum isn't cracked, broken, or damaged. Going to my inner rim. My inner rim, there's no bends, no breaks, no aftermarket welds. Looking at my sidewalls and my tires, making sure there's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. Looking at my tread, making sure I have at least 2 30-seconds tread depth in any major groove. Looking at my bud spacing, make sure my rims are butted up together. There's no damage, there's no foreign objects in here that can be thrown out. Okay. Looking at my outer rim, make sure there's no breaks, no cracks, no bends, no aftermarket welds. Looking at my lug nuts, making sure they're all tight, no cracks in between lug nuts, no new rust. Looking at my valve stem, make sure I have metal cap. My inflation, I would check my inflation here between 100 and 110 psi. Look at my axle seal, make sure all my nuts and bolts are tight, there's no signs of any leaks. Okay, moving on to my mud flap. I'm going to make sure all the nuts and bolts are tight, Carter keys in place. It's not cut, damaged, or missing. No more than 6 inches off the ground and to cover the width of the tire surface. Now I'm going to look at my rear lights. This will be my left turn signal, right turn signal, tail light, brake light, four-way flasher. And the lenses aren't broke, they're not cracked, they're secured with the screws, they're in place. Now I'm going to start my coupling components. I'm going to look up and look at my kingpin, make sure it's not bent, damaged, or broken. Make sure the locking jaws are around the shank of the kingpin, and the locking jaws aren't damaged or broken or missing. I'm going to climb out here. I'm going to do the rest of my coupling component. I'm going to start at my apron. My apron isn't bent, isn't damaged, isn't cracked. I'm going to look at make sure there's no gap in between my fifth wheel plate and my apron. Now I'm going to look at my fifth wheel plate and make sure it's properly greased. Make sure it's not cracked, broken, or damaged. I'm going to look at my pivot pin. Make sure that the pivot pin and the keeper or the Carter keys and pins are in place. Keeping the pivot pin in, make sure my release handle is in the in-lock position. Now I'm going to look at my platform. It's not cracked, damaged, or broken, or missing. I'm going to look at my slide rail. Make sure all my mounting bolts are tight, none are missing, no damage. I'm going to look at my slide pins, make sure they're in the out-lock position. I'm going to look at my tractor protection valve. Make sure that's properly secured in the truck. No audible signs of any leaks. My air lines are connected to my tractor protection valve. Making sure there's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. Make sure that the spring keeps them off the catwalk. Looking at my air lines all the way to my trailer. Make sure they're properly seated. The rubber or the grommets aren't rolled or twisted. There's no signs of audible leaks. I'm going to look at my electrical. Make sure it's properly seated into the truck. The latch over. I'm going to look at the electrical going into the trailer. Make sure there's no cuts, frays, or damage to the electrical line in any part. And the latch is over the lock on that. Now I'm going to look at the header board of my trailer. I'm going to look at my clearance lights. They're amber in color, properly secured, they're not cracked, broken, or missing. We're going to look at the front panel, make sure there's no broken rivet or broken panels, no missing rivets, there's no damage on the bulkhead. Now I'm going to look at my trailer. Down the length of my trailer, I should have at least 50% DOT reflective tape down the length of my trailer. I have an amber reflector here, it's not damaged, it's properly secured to the trailer. Working down my trailer, I'm look at my cross members and what airlines I can see. Make sure the airlines aren't leaking, the cross members aren't bent, damaged, or broken, or missing. I'm going to look at my landing gear. I'm going to look at the welds. I'm going to look at the nuts and bolts. Make sure there's no excessive damage. Make sure my handles in the keeper. Making sure that the sand shoes are free of debris and not missing. All the nuts and bolts are tight, present, accounted for. Moving down. I'm going to look at my amber reflector, my amber marker light. Make sure that the lenses are clean, they're not cracked, broken, or damaged, or missing, and it's properly secured to the trailer. Going back under, I'm going to look at my cross members. Make sure that none of them's bent, damaged, or missing. This trailer has a spare tire. That's not the GPS. Okay, so I'm going to look at my slide rail. Making sure my slide rail is attached to my kingpin or my cross members. None of it's damaged, none of it's missing. I'm going to look and make sure my tandem release pins are in the out lock position. My handle's secured with the pin in place. I'm going to look at my air lines. Make sure there's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts, and the springs keeping them at least 18 inches off the ground. Okay? All right, I'm going to look at my trailer frame. Make sure it's not bent, damaged, twisted, or missing. No aftermarket holes or welds. I'm going to look at my spring hanger. Spring hanger secured to the frame of the trailer. All the nuts and bolts are tight, welds aren't broke. I'm gonna look at my leaf spring, making sure that it's not twisted, not scissored, there's no damage, it's not missing. I'm gonna look at my U-bolt. My U-bolts are tight, nuts and bolts are tight on the bottom. I have no shiny metal or new rust, being an indication of a leak, or not a leak, but a loose U-bolt. I'm gonna look at my torque arm. My torque arm secured by the spring hanger, by nuts and bolts. It is not bent, damaged, or missing. Alright, moving on to my braking system. I have an airline. There's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. It's secured to the brake chamber. It is with clamp and it's not leaking. Going to my brake chamber, there's no bends, there's no breaks. The clamp is in place. It's a Type 30 brake chamber. It's secured to the axle with nuts and bolts. I have push rod. With the brakes released, it should not move more than 1 inch, being ideal. Push rod isn't bent, damaged, or broke. It is attached to the slack adjuster with pins and Carter keys. My slack adjuster is not broke, damaged, or cracked. Going out to my brake shoe linings, there is no excessive oil or grease on either the drum or the lining. The lining itself should not be less than 1/4 of an inch. My brake drum's not cracked, broken, or damaged. Looking at my sidewalls of my tires, or inner rim. Inner rim is not broken, cracked, damaged. Going to my sidewalls of my tires, there's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. Going to my tread, there's no less than 2/32 of an inch, and it's evenly worn. Making sure my rims are butted up together, there's no damage, there's no foreign debris in between on my bud spacing. Going to my outer rim, looking to make sure there's no bends, there's no cracks, no aftermarket welds. My valve stem, look at metal caps in place. Inflation should be between 100 and 110 psi. Looking at my lug nuts, they're all tight, none are missing. There's no cracks indicating looseness, no new rust, indication of a loose lug nut. Looking at my hub seal, make sure there's no leaks. Cap is in tight and present. I have adequate fluid level. I have a door tie here, it's secured to the side of the trailer, rivets are in place. It's not cracked, broken, or damaged. I have a rear reflector, rear marker light. They are red in color. The rivets are secure, the screws are in place. It's not cracked, broken, or damaged, or missing. Going to the back of my trailer, I'm going to look at my clearance lights. This one is broken and missing. They are red in color. The lenses are there, they're not cracked, broken, or damaged. I'm going to look at my door. I'm going to look at the weather stripping around the door. Make sure it's not cut, damaged, or missing. I'm looking at my door hinges, making sure all the nuts and bolts are tight. None are missing, it's not damaged. Look at my hinges, make sure they're not damaged, that the pins and the Carter keys are in place. Looking at my door lifts, making sure that they're secure, all the nuts and bolts are tight. None of them are missing, and it works properly. Coming down, I'm going to look at my left and right turn signal, my brake light, my tail light, my four-way flashers. My reflectors, they're all amber in color, or red in color. They're not cracked, broken, or damaged. None of them are missing. It is secured to the vehicle, nuts and bolts are tight. It is not, there's no damage, it's not cut. It's no more than 6 inches off the ground, and it covers with the tire surface.
So we don't have to do the bumper?
Nope.
Okay.
Got the door over here.
And that the latch is properly and secured to the seat into the body of the truck. I'm going to do a safe start, make sure my buttons are pulled, transmission's in neutral, clutch through the floor, I'm going to turn the key. Close those valves. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to inspect is everything outside the truck. I'm going to look at my mirrors, make sure they're clean, they're properly aligned for me. They're not broken, they're secured to the truck. Look at my door window, make sure that it works properly. It's clean, it's not cracked, it's not damaged. I'm gonna look at my windshield, make sure it's clean, it's not cracked, no damage, no aftermarket or no illegal stickers. I'm gonna look at my wipers, make sure they make contact with the windshield and that they spray. Okay, now I'm gonna move to my fender mirrors. They're properly aligned for me, they're not cracked, they're not damaged or broken. Looking at my passenger side mirror, clean, not cracked, not broken, not damaged, properly aligned for me. Looking at my passenger side window, it's not cracked, broken, or damaged. Gonna check my horns. So look at my lighting indicators on my dash. Left turn signal, right turn signal, high beam, and four-way flashers. Make sure they all work. And I'm gonna look at my gauges. My oil pressure gauge at normal operating range is 35 to 75. My water temperature gauge in normal operating range is 170 to 195. My tach works off the motor. My speed, I'll check that once I start moving. My fuel, I compare that to what I had in my tank. My air pressure, between 100 and 120 pounds of air pressure is normal operating range. I have a brake application gauge, works with the brake pedal. I'm going to check my defrost. Make sure that I can feel it. I'm going to check my heat. Make sure that I can feel it. Okay? Now I'm going to move on to my air brakes test. I'm going to finish building up my air. The wheels are chocked so I can release my brakes. Now that I've rebuilt my air, I'm going to turn the truck off. Turn the key back to the on position. I'm going to push 90 pounds of air on the brake pedal. I should not leak more than 4 psi in 1 minute. Starting now. I actually held it for 1:10, making sure I didn't have any leaks. I did not leak more than 4 psi in a minute. Now I'm going to pump the air brakes down. At around 60, my low air light and buzzer should come on. There it is, my low buzzer come on at around 60. I'm going to continue pumping it down between 20 and 45. My button should pop out. Okay, they both popped out. Now I'm going to do what's called a safe start. I'm going to make sure my buttons are cool, transmission's in neutral, clutch to the floor, and I'm going to turn the key. I'm going to build my RPMs up now that my oil pressure's up, between 12 and 1300 RPM. At or around 60, my low air light should go off. 5 seconds to build 15 pounds of air. Starting now. Alright, it took 15 seconds. Now I'm going to get out and remove my wheel chuck. I'm going to start with my trailer first. Now I'm going to test my tractor. Now I push them both in, roll forward, take my hands off the wheel, come into the complete stop test on my service brakes. And at that point, I will pull my buttons out, go to neutral. I have completed my pre-trip. I do.